Oh my gosh. Hey, everybody. Super excited. Welcome to the first author panel for my rebranded podcast, the Biz Book Publishing Hub. I am thrilled by the results from my last Kindle cross promotion campaign around Amazon Prime Days. 77 business books from 70 authors were lowered to 99 cents or 90.
$1.99.
I'm hearing it on my side because I had it open. Okay, I'm going to start that over again. Welcome to the first author panel of my rebranded podcast, the Biz Book Publishing Hub. I'm thrilled by the results from my last Kindle cross promotion campaign around Amazon Prime Days, where we had 77 business books from 70 business authors. They were lowering their book price to 99 cents or $1.99. And we worked collaboratively to spread the word and were able to boost book sales. In fact, 70% reached the top 10 books in at least one category, and 30% reached number one bestseller in at least one category. Many of them hit it in number of categories, which is amazing. Now, before the campaign even began, I took screenshots of my own book's sales rankings because I wanted to kind of understand whether or not it would change a lot. And I was really amazed by the results. One of my books, my last book, went from 466,000 to 27,000 and change, which is a huge jump. And then another one went from 227,000 to 14,600, which is incredible out of all the US Kindle books. So this is further proof that our efforts did lead to sales. The best part is that our collaboration has not ended. Nearly every Amazon Prime Days Kindle cross promotion author opted to sign up for an author panel after the event, and that's what we're here to do today. With me are three authors. We have Jenn T. Grace, author of Publish Your Purpose, a step-by-step guide to write, publish, and grow your big idea. She's also a publisher and one of the Biz Book Publishing Hub founding partners. Cornelia Kawann is the author of Change Your Energy, Change Your Life, and Tom Collins, co-author of I Am Perfectly Flossom, How Embracing Imperfection Makes Us Better. All three books reached number one bestseller during the campaign. Well done. Please join me in welcoming Cornelia, Jenn, and Tom. Cornelia, will you kick us off by sharing a little bit about your book, who it's for, and what you were trying to share with the world? Welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Robbie, for organizing the whole campaign. And as you can see, together we reached so much. So I'm all in. And what is my book about? From my background, I'm an electrical engineer. And now I'm also a personal energy strategist. And you might ask, why? And the reason is that during my studies and also later on, I discovered so many similarities between electric energy and also our personal energy. And especially now 2 years ago, when we had this energy crisis in Europe, in a way, people realized, energy is kind of limited. We need to take care of. And on the other side, personal energy, in the corporate world, there are so many people with burnout. And that's why the book steps in a way, showing people, how they can manage their energy to have enough energy for all their plans, their dreams, and to make an impact in the world, as so many want to do. And it's especially for busy women. And, from my own experience, I know women have so many obligations with their jobs, their family, their kids, their spouses, their community, aging parents. And there in the book, they have 77 energy hacks where they can, recharge their energy and work with it.
Thank you so much for that. We'll put all the links to the books in the show notes, and we'll also make sure the links go on this live stream after it airs. Jenn, share a little bit about the book you wrote.
Thank you for having me. And Cornelia, I feel like I now need to go buy your book. So, I missed the Prime Day opportunity, but I will go purchase it. So my book is called Publish Your Purpose, and it's also the name of my publishing company. And it is a step-by-step guide to write, publish, and grow your big idea. So this book is really intended for someone who is writing their book from a thought leadership standpoint. And that can be either a memoir or it can be a nonfiction book. So there's a lot of folks who have really compelling stories and they want to write a memoir, but they want to take a stage. They want to do something bigger with it. And so what I have found is that there's just multiple components that really set you up for success as an author. So it goes through mindset, which is truly the foundation of really getting everything set, your goal setting, personal goals, professional goals, your accountability, support systems, all that fun stuff. Then part 2 is all about the writing. So it's not how to use punctuation. It is how to create a writing plan that works for you. And then it wraps up with part 3, which is all about the publishing industry and what authors' options are in this very confusing and crowded landscape.
I tell you, considering I randomly assigned you to the first panel, Jenn, it's an excellent resource for everyone who's tuning in to get started thinking about writing a book. Thank you for sharing that. Tom, if you could share a little bit about your book as well.
Sure. Tom Collins. My company is Master Book Builders, similar space to Jenn. The book is I Am Perfectly Flawsome, How Embracing Imperfection Makes Us Better. I co-authored that with Michelle Molitor. This was a book that was in my head and needed to get out, and it turns out that I met Michelle, and she works in the space of hypnotherapy, and a lot of what the book needed to be is right in her wheelhouse. So I asked her if she would help me get the book out, and she did. The book starts with the kind of dark and negative science that shows how perfectionism, which too often is treated as a positive trait, it actually makes us worse. In a lot of ways. But then we quickly turned to inspiring examples. We ran a survey of our own online last year. We use Olympic gymnasts Allie Raceman and Simone Biles and their struggles with perfectionism. And then we explore the Japanese art of kintsugi, in which pottery, broken pottery, gets repaired and sealed with gold, which makes the piece more beautiful and more valuable than the original. So there's a lot of science, 30 years of science and our own survey that back up the subtitle, How Embracing Imperfection Makes Us Better.
Brilliant. And I was there at your launch party, and you guys had a lot of great energy around this book. You've had a lot of success come from it. Speaking of that, Tom, could you share a little bit when you were, because you're not a new author, this is your 3rd book. So when you were thinking about this book and you had Michelle's help, was there anything you thought of about like what metrics of success were going to be important to you? Like, how would you know this book was being successfully received out in the world?
Yeah, it's funny. With co-authors, I kind of came into it thinking if you're going to have a co-author, they should have the same goals, but ours are quite different. I started out, the main success metric for me was getting the darn thing in print. I wanted to click publish. I guess in relation to our book building business, it was meant as an example that we kind of know what we're doing. We've done it ourselves, and we can help you too. For Michelle, it was much more directly a book that markets her expertise, and she has already landed a keynote speaking gig at UC Berkeley to the Women's Initiative there. So yeah, that's the success metrics for the two of us were a little different, but they dovetail nicely.
Well, we're going to have Michelle Molitor, your co-author, on here. August 22nd is when we'll be recording the live stream, and then we'll be republishing her episode. It'll come out later this fall. So we'll definitely tune in to hear her side of that story. So Cornelia, could you share a little bit for you, sort of what you thought of as you were getting ready to publish this book? What would be a way you thought about success?
Wow. Of course, at the beginning, I think most authors are having this mission, reaching as many people as possible. But in the course, I think of the whole writing process is changed. And I really would like to refer to Jenn, because I will have to deal with a lot of limiting beliefs that really kind of kept me from writing in the first place, and then visibility and going out. And then now I see it completely different, because now I see it more as a tool. It shows I'm an expert on this topic, and it's kind of really the basis for actually interest people into my mastermind and my programs. And so it kind of completely shifted.
Yeah, I could see that. And that's going to be my follow-up question, is about how it's changed over time. But first, let's bring Jenn into the conversation. So Jenn, how did this, like, you've seen a lot of books get published. You've been responsible for a lot of books being published. Is this the first book that you published yourself?
No, this is my 7th.
Okay, I was thinking you had a long history. I want to make sure we brought that into here. So I imagine over time, your thoughts around what success meant has changed. You no longer feel like just hitting publish probably is enough because, well, you've done that. So what are you now, like, how did you approach success for this latest book?
I think it's an interesting question, because I have written 7 other books, and I've published about 200 books for other people. And when we look at just what are our end goals for this, like, everybody is so different. And if I even look at my book before this one, was my memoir back in 2020. And with that one, I was kind of like, I'm going to let the book decide what it wants me to do. And what the book wanted me to do was do a lot of book clubs. And I really had no attachment to how the story got out there. Whereas this one, it is a framework to help an author actually get through the process and have the right tools and have the understanding of what the industry looks like, to know what is my best path forward. And for me, I don't really care about the book selling. I will give the book away for free. I will sell it for 99 cents. Like, the actual making money on the book itself is almost irrelevant to me, because it is the top of the marketing. I hate saying funnel, but it's the top of the funnel, right? So if I give this book away to 5,000 people, there's going to be maybe a couple dozen of them that are like, you know what, I think Jenn might be the person that I want to work with. And so that's great. But then the other 4,950 folks, what's great for them is that they have the tools and resources to go either do it on their own or find the right partner for them. And so it's a really different goal than I think a lot of authors have, because I think a lot of authors have this goal of, like, I want the book to make me money. But in the case of this conversation today, we are talking about kind of the ROI tied to books. And I think having this approach, obviously I'm a little biased, but I think it's a smart approach when it was strategically designed to create those opportunities like Cornelia was, starting to talk about.
Yeah, I think this is also something I'll share with my first book. Writing was not my favorite pastime. So I stalled for years on writing the book. And when I finally got the book written and I was ready to hand it off to the editor, I had a moment, like an epiphany, that it was a good book. And I wanted people to read this book. It wasn't just a must-have as a professional speaker, which is how I started the journey. The journey was like, I have to have a book. But then it became a book that I was, like, proud of. And that's when I got really excited about the marketing and the launching and the follow-up. And I had this realization that the first day of marketing is the day you are hitting publish. That, like, that maybe even before that is when you need to be thinking about the publishing life of the book is this part, but then the marketing part continues on and on. And it really changed my focus, because I think just knowing you can publish a book is really the goal initially, but then that becomes really the beginning of the marketing journey. For me, that shift has happened. So I'm curious, Tom, now the book is published for you, and it exists in the world, and you're seeing how Michelle, your co-author, is able to sort of use it to direct business, which is wonderful. I'm so excited for her success. Yeah. How has that shifted for you? Is there anything that you now attach as a metric? Like, are you using this to now direct revenue and, like, or just attract people to the work that you do?
Yeah, I if you visit our website, you'll see it's featured right on the front page, and we say we eat our own cooking, and our 3 books are right under our picture. And so it does support our business. And I guess the metric, I know I was really pleased that we were able to hit #1 in multiple categories across 4 Amazon marketplaces with the initial launch. And a thing that developed kind of organically was that because of the way we were doing that launch, and because we wanted to do the online launch party, we kind of folded into a rolling launch. So the ebook came out first, and then we did the party for the print book. And now I got a press release in the works for the audiobook that's coming out any day now when ACX gets around to approving it. And so I really like that model of doing a rolling launch and not thinking of it as a one-time, one-day event. We've talked about turning it into a workshop around the kintsugi philosophy, and so I don't see this as, again, I see this as an ongoing launch. Not sure where it'll stop, but getting this message into people's hands was still is the main goal.
Excellent. Thanks. Jenn, what about you? Like, now that you have the book out there and it's, it's had a life, I know for you, you've did a really good job getting reviews, and I'm curious because that's not easy to do. I know I'm actually working with some of your authors about that. So I know that even though you know how to do it, it's really hard to even get people to focus on that. How did you sort of build up momentum and get not just ratings, which is the stars, but you've got real reviews on there? And did that somehow tie into your overall strategy for your marketing plan?
Yeah. And you are my go-to resource on all things reviews. So anytime reviews come up, I'm like, talk to Robbie. He's got this program, like, go do the thing. I think, to me, it is a labor of love, and you have to be consistent. So I tell our authors to do this. Some of them will do, some do, some don't. But if I look at our sales data across our books, it's the books with the highest reviews that sell the most copies. So there's absolutely a direct correlation between number of reviews and sales. And I think it just kind of makes sense, because the more people who are reviewing it, the more exposure it's going to get. And it kind of like goes in both directions. And I was actually noticing before we went live, because I was looking at my Amazon listings per our conversation, and I'm like, oh, I got another review. But I have had to, like, I have it in a spreadsheet of anyone who has said, oh, I'll leave a review for you, or casually in an email, and it's in a spreadsheet. And then, once a month or so, I just kind of reach out to people being like, hey, I know we had this conversation. I know it's a pain, but I would love so much if you could do this for me. And I know it's a big ask. I really do. And so I really honor when people do. And then when I see that they left a review, if it's someone I know, I reach out to them to be, and I have to do that with this person who left me a review on the 20th to say, like, thank you so much for doing it. Because even as authors ourselves, like, sometimes I read amazing books and I don't even think to go leave a review. And I'm like, how do we start to embed that into the mind of readers to say, I read this really awesome book, even, and I think it goes back to Tom, like you talking about perfection. I think what stops people from leaving reviews is that they want to capture the essence of the book in such a beautiful, profound way that it stops them from just writing something of like, oh my God, this book was amazing, go buy it. Like, that alone is a perfectly fine review.
Yep.
So that's, a little bit of my strategy, but a lot of people don't want to, my book came out in October. A lot of people don't want to be still stalking people in July for reviews when the book came out, 9 months ago.
I call it polite persistence. I do a really big focused effort early on for my launch process. And so there's like this 8 weeks between figuring out who to invite, getting the advanced reader copy. I collect reviews in advance via Google form. And then when the book is published, I have the reviews sent back to the people with steps on how to publish it. And I do that separately because of the thing you just said. People get a little overwhelmed with writing. Like, if they stare at that empty box on an Amazon page, they don't know what to write. So I give them prompts. It's a big piece of it. So folks want to know more, I'm going to put a link in the show notes so you can check in and talk to me about that. But Cornelia actually had the experience of working with me on this. And I wanted to say from the get-go that Cornelia is not based in the US. And why is that significant? Amazon.com versus where she's living, there's a lot of Amazon sites around the country, around the world, I mean. And you have to spend $50 on the Amazon site in your country in order to leave a review, which can be a hindrance if you're not in the States, because in the States, we're kind of addicted to getting Amazon packages, which is not the case in every other country. So Cornelia, tell us a little bit about your experience. You got a lot of reviews. What was that effort like? And what would you share with folks about that process?
Oh yeah, and actually the idea was, you recommended that to me, that really kind of you need to make sure you get the reviews, and especially at the beginning that you already have some. So as you pointed out, it's sometimes a pain in the neck. Yeah, it's not an easy way, but it's really, it pays off. And yeah, during the process, I noticed that some of my advanced readers can't even publish their reviews. So we were, we went on to Goodread, and but nevertheless, yeah, I got quite some. I was really proud of my reviews, and I still try to collect them. And I just would like to point out one thing. I think it's not only the reviews. Of course, they make you sell, but it's also big. These personal messages you get about your book, and that really makes your heart sing. And I got out of the blue, like an email from a lady in Ukraine, and I didn't even know her, right? And she got recommended this book, and she said how much it helped her in these difficult times, right?
Wow.
And so we got started in a conversation, and now she's even a client, right? So the things how they develop, and that's what I think, that's really makes my heart sing. It's not only the reviews, they pay off, right? They give you credit, but it's this personal feedback, and I think this is so wonderful.
Yeah, I would like to just jump in and say, do not discount that when you think about ROI. ROI isn't just money. The feeling you get when the first time you hold that book in your hands is pretty amazing.
One of the things that I've noticed is because I have my authors collect reviews before it's published, the quality of those reviews is different because everyone's writing them individually. Like they can't crib off of other people's reviews because there's nothing published. And getting those early responses at a moment when the author has to sort of get their energy up to do the publication and then the launch and then the marketing, like they're kind of tired. I mean, this has been a long effort. We've been running this marathon and they're so close and they just want to be done. But now I'm like, there's a second marathon. They're like, what? But those early reviews coming in by the dozens, it just helps them like, holy cow, people care about this. This has been important. I'm so excited that I wrote this book. Like it re-energizes them. And I know, Cornelia, you're really focused on the energy piece. So how was that for you getting those early reviews as you hadn't even published the book yet?
Oh yeah. And for me, key was even because what you recommended is to inspire people to join my book launch group, right? So I set up a WhatsApp group, and so they helped me pick the kind of the title and even the cover and everything. So they were kind of part of it and supporting me here. And then I remember I was in this. I promised I send out the advanced copy so they can read it. And I was in London at that time, and I was sitting like at midnight there, and like thinking, should I really press this button? And then I said, okay, yes, let's just do it, and then I can recall it tomorrow, delete it tomorrow in the morning, and like 5 minutes later, and it was 1 a.m. already in Europe over here. The first person said, oh wow, finally you send it over, can't wait to read, and this is, there's so much support if you let people support you, and I didn't expect that, and it was really encouraging and inspiring.
Tom, any thoughts from you about collecting reviews? Because you all did a great, anytime you can get over 20 reviews that are written, that's amazing. And also your ratio of reviews, I think is 100%, which is incredibly hard to do. I still don't get it when I see authors of 110 ratings and less than 10 written reviews. Yeah. I think you have, you're 100% people who rated it also wrote a review, and you're in the high 20s. What was that process like? Because you focused on getting a launch, you had a launch party. Like you said, it's still an ongoing launch experience.
Yeah. We always, with all our clients, send out advanced review copies because we want to have some reviews to put on the cover and the front of the book and so on. So, and those tend to be pretty glowing. because you've selected and engaged with them ahead of time. And then, to have that convert to Amazon reviews is still a challenge, even for those people who really like you and really like the book. But yeah, I think that's part of the lesson, is to get it out there. The other thing that does for you is, and I don't know, maybe Jenn has a different experience, but I'm hard pressed. I don't think we've ever done a book for ourselves or a client where we didn't get some feedback that we incorporated into the book. It made a better book, not just good feelings. So yeah, the advanced reader copy is a real important step in the publishing process.
So I want to just clarify, because the endorsements that you collected, that's the stuff you're putting inside the book, and the back cover, sometimes it's called advanced praise. We are often trying to get people who have some kind of notoriety in their name, or their title is very important. The thing I always say to authors is you don't really need more than 10, because we assume as readers that they're good reviews, or you wouldn't have published them inside the book. And what we're doing is, like, we skim, do we recognize the name, or, oh, it's a CEO, oh, it's a fellow author, that kind of thing. But then, yeah, I've had a hard time even getting those people sometimes to then go on their own Amazon account and publish it as a review. Has also been a little bit tricky, because sometimes the very reason you're asking them is that they're really important people. Right. And therefore, like, their schedule is probably a little bit tight. I actually want to shift gears a tiny bit. I love reviews. I could talk about it all day long. I want to know what other effective marketing strategies you've done that particularly led to more book sales. And I say book sales because, while it's not the end all be all, we're not trying to be making tons of money and get rich off of the book sales. Finding ways to motivate people to buy your book, either one at a time, which is probably not the most effective, or bulk orders of books because you were speaking or coaching or book clubs. It gets the book out there, right? So that's really important in the long run, as we're trying to attract people to us. Does anyone wave your hand a little bit if you've got a good story to share about a particularly good marketing strategy that somehow led to more book sales? I got Jenn. Okay, Jenn, go for it.
It actually accomplishes both goals of getting the book out there and then also getting more sales. So there are a lot of websites that will do kind of like a BookBub. So for anyone who doesn't really know what BookBub is, it's a place where people can subscribe to say they want to receive information about a promotion on a book or a free book, or there's a lot of different kind of nuances to it. BookBub, I think, is the one that most people at least know that name. There's a lot of other ones. And so I have been experimenting with all of them. And I have a spreadsheet that tracks all of the details, that it's like, it cost me this amount of money for so one of them was like $59 for an audience of like 281,000 people. And I know that I got 0.4% of that audience to do it the first time and 0.6 the second time. Like, I've got all the data. But a lot of times it's giving the book away for free. Those are more effective because people are going to, like, if they're not 100% into the book, they're like, I'll download it for free. Maybe I don't want to spend 99 cents. Maybe I don't want to spend $4.99. But every time I do it, there is a spike in sales that lasts for 5 days after. So it might be that 1,000 books went out for free on the day of the promotion, but then you just watch the trail, like, it just keeps going down and down, where it's like, oh, but 50 books sold the next day. Then there's like 20 the next day, and it just keeps getting smaller and smaller. So to me, it's kind of like that first wave gets it into the hands of the people who maybe they're on the fence about it, but then they see that email because they just happen to not be in their email the day that promo came out. And they're like, oh, wow, I really want to get this book. So to me, it seems like the ones that are willing to pay for it are going to be people who are more inclined to actually take action as a result of the book. And I think a lot of times we think about, oh, hey, there's this, this free thing. I'm giving the book away for free. But if you track the metrics, they're there. And maybe you try it and it doesn't work for you, and then to do a different strategy. But for me, it's working really effective. So I keep doing it.
So is this something, because you're part of KDP Select for your books, or able to drop the price now and again every 90 days? Is this kind of what you mean by you keep doing it?
Yeah, so I the ebook specifically is in KDP, and then everything else is in Ingram. But yeah, so it gives me some flexibility and creativity with playing around with it. So
for those who are listening in, KDP Select is an option when you're uploading your Kindle file to Amazon. It's a 90-day commitment that you will not sell your Kindle book version or give it away anywhere except for through Amazon site. You can't do it through your website or Ingram or any other platform. But in exchange, you're able to discount it to free 5 days every 90 days. You can do a 7-day Kindle countdown deal where the original price shows on the sales page, and then the discounted price is showing there, and it tells you how many hours are left. And you also have your book included in the Kindle Unlimited library. There are people who are paying about $10 a month to be able to take out 10 books at a time. So there's some benefits, cost benefit. I know I could talk through with people whether it's good. I'm no longer doing it, but I think that for the thing that you're talking about, it could be a real boost. Cornelia, I saw you also raised your hand. What was it you wanted to share about a marketing strategy?
I think it wasn't maybe a real marketing strategy, but what came up, it was maybe because of the book. I started getting invited to more podcasts. And so now I'm speaking at a lot of podcasts, and first of all, I can reach a completely different audience with my message and with the book I normally wouldn't even have reached. And the feedback here, or the return of energy, however you call it, is also very, very positive. And I just figured out I just love speaking at other people's podcasts. I love the questions. I get to new hosts and all the atmosphere. So for me, it's something I really like doing, and it's fun, and it also pays off regarding the book sales.
Sure,
but of
yeah.
course, it's not that huge amount as Jenn is speaking about, but it's more, small amounts, but
it's also getting in front of the right audience. So if you're in you're in a really particular niche, so if you're on a podcast that is really focused on your niche, then those listeners are going to be your best prospective readers. And if they buy the book, they're going to probably the ones who want to reach out to you or have questions or at least take action. So I think it's a great strategy for you to get your book continuously out there. Jenn, I did something similar for my first 2 books. I hired someone because I got to this point in the process where I just didn't want to learn anything new. And I hired someone who knows how to do this. Her name is Jyotsna Ramadan. She's also a Hub partner. And she helped me figure that part out. My first book hit number 94 in all free Kindle books in the US. So that is a huge number of downloads. Yeah. And it did have a long tail of sales because I then followed that up with the launch team piece happened first. And then that happened on like the launch week when everyone else publicly had access. But it really helped boost that for a long time, the visibility of it. So, and that book is my now other favorite one. It's the one where you can have your book at 99 cents, but people are keen to buy it. I like that a little bit more now because it's a sale. And so it helps with your ranking in the sales category, and hitting number 1 in the free does not make you number 1 bestseller because it's, well, free. Tom, did you have anything you wanted to add? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you briefly mentioned speaking gigs, and they will very often, even if they don't have a budget for a speaker honorarium or fee or whatever, they will very often buy books for the audience if you're talking about a topic specific to the book, because it adds value for their audience and they can use it as a marketing tool to get fannies in the seats. And similar with guest blog posts or podcast appearances and so on, the hosts are often really happy to give away books to their audience. So yeah, if you've got the KDP Select set up and so on, you can schedule that around an important appearance with a good audience and put a lot of books in people's hands or Kindles.
And if you don't have KDP Select, you can just manually adjust the price across the globe for a period of days and then put it back up. And mostly the people who will find it will be people you're telling you to go there, because that's kind of how this works. I'm curious if the 3 of you have a lead magnet in the book that kind of gets people onto an email list that then you're nurturing them. I'm just so always curious about how we are creating more of a clear pipeline or pathway from a reader into the other opportunities that are here. Tom, I believe you had some really good stuff in there.
Yeah, we have a page, download page with half a dozen or so items, a couple of ebooks that the 2 of us have written, Michelle's got her recording of a meditation audio, and I'm not even going to remember all the things that are on there, but we put a page in the front of the book saying, before you begin, go get your free bonuses, with a link and a QR code, and the similar page in the back, now before you go back to your day page. So yeah, we definitely wanted to get people onto our lists.
Awesome. Jenn?
Yeah, we do that. That's actually one of our superpowers, I think, as a publisher, helping our authors figure out what those creative calls to action are. So because I have grow in the subtitle of my book, of Grow Your Big Idea, at the end of every chapter, there's a page, and it's a full color book. So at the end of every chapter, it says grow further, and it has a very specific call to action that goes directly to what that chapter talked about. So one that's, talking about writing chapter, it's going to go to our 30-day writing challenge, or it's going to go to our free workshop, or we have a 9 questions to ask a potential publisher guide that's on our website. So the publishing chapters go to that. So so there's 18 chapters and there's 18 calls to action, in addition to kind of those, and it's very subtly done. So it doesn't feel aggressive and in your face. And then even in the chapters themselves, it'll say, when we did this with so-and-so, you might want to go check it out. Go to book-extras.com. And then just kind of like driving people. So it's kind of like a balance of being really subtle about it, and then also like being direct about it. Because if it's direct, like, people can just flip past it. You know what I mean? But it's directly tied to what the content is. So it's relevant. It's not just me being like, hey, go hire us. Nowhere in there does it say anything about hiring us in any way.
This is like when you're learning to do speaking from a stage, and someone points out how you can subtly say things like, when I was working with a client, or this other time when I was speaking at the blah, blah, blah stage. Like, you want people to understand this is, you do this a lot, that you're professional, that you have other ways of coaching. And so similarly, like throughout the book, weaving in things that feel relevant to that moment, it gives them resources to actualize the content, which is cool. Cornelia, did you have a lead magnet or any kind of resource link in your book?
Yes, I did. But apparently, so I put it to my ebook to download, which is about stress management. So in a way, it's connected. But for some reason, this link kind of broke. It doesn't work. So we couldn't fix it yet. And I didn't, because I got so much support to getting the format and everything done. So I didn't dare to take it off and then put in the correct link and then upload it again. But it's definitely something I want to do. But right. I knew about the magic behind it, but I didn't set up it properly.
Well, this is going to be on your to-do list after this week. I'm gonna reach back out to you. As we're shifting to the close of this incredible panel, I would love to hear your advice for someone who is somewhere in that author journey, trying to get the idea out of their head, writing a business book that will help them build or grow their business. Maybe they're reaching that publication. They're trying to figure out next steps. I mean, obviously, Jenn, you have a lot to say, so we'll guide people to the book that you've written. But also, like, just how do they approach this so that there is a more direct link between this huge effort that they put into writing this book, and it actually creating a monetary support for their business, so that they become sustainable as a business model. Anyone have something they want to share with someone who will help them along that author journey? Give me a little wave. There are. We'll start with Tom.
I think it comes down to, if you want the book to support your business, then you need to build a book that gives real value to your ideal client. And so many people worry that they're giving too much away. There's just no such thing. The more value you bring, the more they are going to want to get in touch with you, get to know you, and eventually work with you.
I love it. Cornelia, what would you like to share?
Well, I would like to share, I think, of course, you can do it all alone, but I think that's why it doesn't work out with most authors, because it's just such a huge mountain, right? First of all, you have to write it, and then you really have to get it out, and it's just scarce so much. And I think I wouldn't have gone through my process so smoothly without support. And I think it pays off that you ask for support, that you ask people who have done that before, like Jenn or Robbie or Tom. And then so you you can really concentrate what actually you are best in, writing your book, right? After you overcame all your limiting beliefs that are holding you kind of back. And then then do it. You have this step-by-step process. I think this is very helpful. What you also pointed out. You set up your launch team on time. Then you kind of start collecting these reviews, and you have your launch party. And so, in a way, you feel guided, and this takes out so much pressure. And then, because it's a very, very special moment when you're, as Tom said before, when you finally have your book or you see it on Amazon, it's extraordinary, right? And if you're so busy with other things, then you just can't even enjoy this very special moment. And I'm still so grateful to you, Robbie, that you said, never ever do your launch party on the day when you really launch your book. Do it the next day. And I didn't understand before, but now I know what you meant. I could really be a guest on my own launch party and enjoy it, and speak with all the guests that came, right? And so that would be my recommendation.
So a couple of things from that, Cornelia. One is I want everyone to know that they have free access to the Biz Book Publishing Hub at bizbookpublishinghub.com. There are more than 50 experts waiting to guide entrepreneurs through navigating the complexities of writing, editing, publishing, and marketing a book. Great place to kind of get a sense of what supports you might not even know you might need. You may not even know what questions you don't know to ask. And every single hub partner is sharing either a free resource or a 30-minute free consultation call to help you kind of along this process. Some do full service. Some are very specifically editors or formatters or graphic designers for covers. And you get to sort of find your way through, and you'll see my stuff on there as well around the launches. But Cornelia, I wanted to explain why the launch party, I recommend being the day after the launch. So the launch day is the day you're driving your launch team to get their reviews published on Amazon by that date. But that day it's like your birthday. Like all these people are going to writing comments, and you want to be everywhere. You want to be commenting and engaging, and it can be exhilarating and exhausting. So the day after is when we have the public launch party, which we've invited the world to, and we get to really acknowledge the success of the previous few weeks, and we get to guide people to the offers that come after the book. We invite people who have experienced the author in some way to come and say nice things about them, so that they get to be the guest of honor at their own event. Jenn, I'm going to pass now the mic to you. If you had to crystallize just a couple of concrete things that people could really benefit from all your wisdom, publishing hundreds of books for other people as well as your own, what would you share?
I feel like leading with the book. I think that's what authors make the biggest mistake on. We spend all of this time strategically figuring out how to drive them to the right place. And then we forget to mention, oh, by the way, I wrote this book. And so I think, there are people like, I think myself for sure, Robbie, I know how you show up in a room. Like we've been in similar rooms before where you absolutely are leading with that book. And the more we can lead with this is what we do, the more it makes sense for the people that we're speaking to. Because I think we've all had, and I use this as an example in my book where, you go to a networking event and you're talking to someone who is selling real estate one week. And then you meet them a month or two later and you're like, now they're doing some kind of feng shui consulting. You're like, I don't understand what's happening. And then you meet them again and now they're selling some kind of essential oils. And it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever because you're like, can they pick a lane? But the reality is that all of this is part of a holistic experience that they're providing for clients that they're working with that they've written about in a book, but they're not leading with the book. And if they just led with, hey, I'm the author of such and such, this is what I do, then all of those things that seem really disconnected will now make sense for the reader. And I think that is the benefit of having a book is that you have the space and time to share what your methodology is, share your experiences, share how they can benefit from it. But if we're not actively leading with it, all of this other work it makes it a little bit less relevant. And ultimately the goal, like at least in my case, because it's publish your purpose, it's getting people's purpose out there more. And if I'm not doing that, then how do I expect other people to follow suit?
I love that. I was thinking about how my books come up, and they come up because the resources, particularly for my second and third book, are robust, like full on zip files full of content and videos and swipe copy and PDFs and workbooks. So I usually find it as a shortcut, like someone's asking me questions. And I'm like, oh, well, why don't you just download this and you'll get the workbook? Or why don't you go here? You'll get to see all these videos. And so that comes up because I'm directing them to the free resource, which they can download without even getting the book because I have a landing page for it. So, but that, like you said, it helps position me as now an authority on this topic, even though lots of people might know these things, but they didn't write it all down in a book, and that takes a lot of effort. So congratulations to all of you on getting through the author journey to the point where you hit publish and then you launch the book and you're marketing the book. You're here talking about it because you were part of the Kindle cross promotion campaign, which we'll be doing again around Black Friday later this year, 2024. As we wrap up here, we're going to go alphabetically to hear how can people find you and follow your work. Cornelia, what's the best way for people to find you?
Oh, the best way, definitely my homepage. It's corneliakawann.com, or as you can see here, Cornelia Energy on Instagram and all social media. Yeah.
Great. We'll put all those links in the show notes. Jen?
The easiest way, because we have a lot of free resources for authors, it's publishyourpurpose.com.
Fantastic. And Tom?
Our site is masterbookbuilders.com. We got blog. My wife, Yvonne, has a long-running podcast on the site as well. So if you need to get to know us, that's the place.
Fantastic. We're going to put all those links in the show notes. You can go to bizbookpublishinghub.com to find all the Hub partners, as well as a link to the podcast in the show notes. Thank you all so much for joining me. This has been a really fun conversation.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank
Robbie.
you.